Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. Hope you enjoy. Humans are unremarkable, written by Bo Woodstock. Good morning, everyone. If you are not here for the Warp Mechanics 305, then you're in the wrong class. I can see almost got a few of you there. No, this is Xenosociology 101, Council Civilizations. Yes, good. Get settled in. We're going to get started right away. All right. So to start, most classes would start at the beginning. If you got into this by any history class or any of the beings with representatives in the ruling council, they're going to start just about as far back in the past as possible in whatever recorded history they have. This is good if you're trying to understand the people in detail, but not so good if you're trying to understand how they interact with others in the present day. So with that in mind, we're instead going to start with one of the most recent events in council history. Our newest member in over 100 galactic nanocycles. From what I understand, a number of them will be attending this university next year, so I imagine most of you are curious about them anyways. I know that each of your respective peoples call them by different names, some more or less prattling than others, but we are going to be referring to them as their own name, yes. I'm aware that some of you may not be able to pronounce it due to the anatomical limitations, but you should ensure that your translators are set to translate the proper galactic standard term. They are now respected members of our community as a whole, and I would not tolerate any reference to the bestial primates or slurs about dirt people. I am, of course, talking about humans, or alternatively, Terrans, or by their scientific name, Homo sapiens sapiens. Again, these are the only acceptable terms I'll be hearing in this class, right? Good. Now, the question I would like to pose to you as a class. What makes humans so remarkable? Yes, in the front there. Okay, common misconception, no. It is not their physical capabilities. On their own planet, for example, there are plenty of creatures that can easily overpower them. In our galactic community, they are also not the strongest. There are many insectoid races that have much greater capacity to regenerate, even regrow lost limbs as well. Something humans are incapable of. There are some of you in the room who could beat them in a foot race or speed or endurance, and some of you are able to fly or breathe amphibiously, whereas they are terrestrial in nature, and the ability to throw objects accurately is fairly common trait for any species with binocular vision and decent muscle coordination. Anyone else? No, it is not their intelligence or their ingenuity. While they are a relatively young race in regards to their rate of technological advancement, there are others there with greater mental acuity. I believe the record for industrialization to FTL development is 150 standard planetary cycles, where humans achieved it in 200. Any other ideas? Backbonding, yes. It is known that they make friends easily, which is why they are able to earn their spot in the council so quickly, but no. That in itself is also not remarkable. Several other council member species were able to be diplomatic just as easily. In general, you must remember, without some kind of intersocial relationship, it is impossible to get past living in caves. Every civilized species that we know of had that moment in history where someone realized that by working together with others, even if they seemed different, would result in something greater than the whole. No single civilization ever came about by being nothing but warriors or thinkers. Someone had to build the seeds of civilization in cities. Someone had to be the defender. Someone had to be the farmer, and so on and so forth. They're also not unique in their violent history. I know several of us, including myself, have histories we're not proud of. One last guess. Anyone? A Deathworld, you say? Well, not completely. Correct. You are close. Their world has a relatively strong gravitational field, hence human terrestrial nature. But that's a fairly common situation. Several of you hail from worlds with stronger gravity. If you look at conditions on the human's homeworld, there are certainly places that would be hazardous, if not downright lethal to many of us. You have places where water is frozen solid year-round, just as you have places where water is scarcity. The land is nothing more than a hellscape of scorched sand. You have places where the crust of the planet cracks and the molten rock spews forth, and you have places where weather conditions can create storms strong enough to level entire towns. But on top of all of that, You also have rich, fertile plains, forests teeming with life, deep oceans filled with flora and fauna abound. Calling their planet a death world is really a misnomer, because it is a planet filled with life. Humans are part of that life, and they've managed to survive in almost all parts of their world. Alright, I'll confess, I began this class with a trick question, the answer to what makes humans remarkable. Nothing. If you look at individual traits, there is nothing that particularly stands out, as per the examples I just gave. So then, why have they succeeded so resoundingly? Well, the first mistake many of us make is that because they are unremarkable, we immediately underestimate them. Any of us here in this class can think of something that they could beat a human at. It's natural behavior. You see something unexpected that you're worried could be a threat. You immediately start thinking about how you can gain an advantage and what they could be better at than you. What you don't think about is what they're still good at, even if they're not the best, compared to the galaxy as a whole. Those of you who can beat a human at wrestling, only if you can catch them. Those of you that can outrun one, good for you, because in a fight, you wouldn't want one to catch you. Those of you who are intellectually adept, I challenge you to survive one night in the wilderness of their homeworld. It won't go well for you without the immense amount of preparation, and maybe some extremely important survival gear. Those of you with stronger familial or pack bonds, strength in numbers, go spend a week alone in a starship in space. I'll make it easier. You can bring one other person with you. How will you be doing by the end of the week? Cut off from contact with your pack or family unit. Probably an emotional wreck. Humans do it all the time, by the way, and it barely phases them. Humans have a saying. I know that it's in your respective languages it might not have the same impact, but in one of their primary languages it is a rhyming cadence. Jack of all trades, master of none, oftentimes better than master of one. You see, because humans don't excel in any one particular way, they have spent their entire history being generalists, adapting to situation at hand. They had to be, to live on their world. If one of them is incapable of doing something, there is pretty good chance that they know someone who can. That's another thing you're going to notice about them when you finally meet them next year. No two humans are exactly alike. Even in classes of multiple birth siblings that have identical appearance will have different personalities and capabilities. They have a multitude of creeds and religions, which means that something that may be downright offensive to one could be a zero issue to another. While we're on that note, this will also be our biggest challenge when meeting them, getting past any existing preconceptions about how they are. Remember, because no two humans are alike, the experiences you will have with one will not be indicative of how every other time will go. There are some that you will probably hate. There are some that you'll immediately make lifelong friends with. Because of that, there is only one piece of advice I can give you that I am confident is true. Don't underestimate them. They will surprise you in more ways than one. End of story. Story number 2. Old Gods, written by Conqueror Wiggles. The relics still remain. Remnants of the old gods lie scattered across the galaxy. The elder races have kept their empire whole since time immemorial. They carried on their sacred duty of keeping the memory alive. But all things must come to an end. The elder races are called such because they were there to witness the glory of the old gods. But a rift has opened between them and the more recent additions to the empire. Call it a youthful folly, call it arrogance, but the new species do not follow the traditions of the old gods. One fledgling race in particular, a species of mammalian biped, wages wars in a bid for dominance. This young race had success, their ingenuity matched only by their savagery, had brought them victory after victory. Even the elder races began to fall. The elders who remained knew that they were no match for such ferocity. So they began performing the final rites left to them by the old gods, signaling the end of the empire. It was time to activate the highest and most sacred relic. The master key, gifted to the elder races by the old gods, was a tool to ensure that no relics ever fell into the wrong hands. All things must come to an end. When the master key whirred to life, a hologram appeared above it, an avian species that seemed to be cloaked in flames. Soon, the same hologram appeared above every relic in the galaxy, as they too awoke. All things must come to an end. Now that beacons had been lit, the Empire has reached its end. It is the time for the Empire to be reborn. The old gods have awoken. It is time for humans to take back their home. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the Tier 5 members, Marky, Cam Maxwell, Caspar Arnolds, Oakfield, Lord Azrakul, and It's Difficult to Pronounce. Thank you very much.